Hello, I hope you're able to see me. It's been a while. It's been a while. I am trying to get some of the things up. And as I mentioned on my Instagram, I have had to learn a whole new platform software for the slide. Is the camera okay? Are we doing good? Are you able to hear me? Is this fine? Okay. I really do need one more thing. Hello, hello. Are you here? Is anyone here? I can't see the chat. That is what I'm trying to get. But you know what we're going to do? I'm going to try it on my phone to see if that's working. So okay, so we are on 29th June 2025 at 11:03 a.m. with technical issues. Here to just hang out with a lot of noise in the background. As you can see, I'm so confused where to look. Okay, so if you remember, if you've been a part of this space before, um, you will remember vaguely that sometime around last year I used to do a lot of these YouTube lives, where I just come here and then just chat about like the current ongoing conversations around dogs, dog parenting, um, and more such ideas. And we'd have a chat for about an hour and a half sometimes. um, so I'm planning to just build on that. There was a long break where um, I didn't have an opportunity to be able to do this. I didn't have the bandwidth, I didn't have the time and energy to be able to do this. So I had to put a pause on it. The the old members, the OGs will remember. Um, but I realized that I think a lot of the conversations we tend to have about dog parenting, especially the kind of approach that we take, um, cannot be had in like a 30-second post or like a 100-word caption. And so I feel like a longer video conversation where we chat about it makes a lot more sense uh, for us. So yeah, that was the idea behind mm, doing live streams. And I think I'm more inclined towards doing live streams because we can have a synchronous conversation about this than me putting out a video. And of course it takes a lot of time and effort to record and put out a video, which I hope I can do it at some point, but that's not for now. um, so yeah, that's the purpose. I'm hoping to do maybe definitely one live every week, and that'll be at a set time, um, so that you know when we are going to meet here. um, And I also am thinking of doing one more every week, or at least, um, if I do one every week, it amounts to about four a month, and so maybe at least two more another in the month. So I'm planning that with the timings and um, all of it. So let's see how that goes. I have started consuming YouTube live streams, YouTube content, YouTube video essays in the last couple of years, and I really do enjoy the YouTube videos. Um, because one is, a lot of them end up being like a background, like just something that I can listen to, don't have to actually watch. But also, a lot of them are content around social commentary, around our society, politics, current affairs, and these are things that I have grown to be involved in and passionate about. So yeah, I have started becoming a YouTube consumer, and I see the value in YouTube platform, and so I felt like this is the space that I want to have a voice as well. So here we are. Okay, so as I mentioned, today it's going to be a little short stream because it's just a welcome back here. It's a um, restart the conversations here. Let everybody know I'm still here and alive doing this here. So that was a reason that I just picked to do this now. Um, Anyone who's watching later, to drop a comment, share, and like. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do so. These are like just the basic things that I suppose we're supposed to tell here. um, so in the recent few, if you are coming here from my Instagram, the last few posts on my page have been primarily about training, not training, some conversations and thoughts around it, some questions for the audience, um, to reflect but also to share their thoughts. And the conversations have been kind of interesting. And I thought that the only way to respond to all of this is in a longer conversation about it, because again, I don't think these things come across easily when spoken on text on social media. So this is my preferred choice of response for a lot of these conversations. So interestingly, and I'm going to bring up um, what all has been up on my Instagram recently, and then we'll pick that conversation up. So of course, we started the week somewhere with conversations around respect. Um, and I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy rewatcher. Like I watch, I do the 10 seasons rewatch in a month, and then I rinse and repeat. So I watch it. I don't know how many times I have watched it in the last, I don't know how many years. So I'm a huge rewatcher of Grey's Anatomy, and while watching one of these episodes, one of the characters, Mark Sloan, if you also follow, tells another character that loving someone and respecting someone are not the same thing. So we started the week with a conversation around love and respect on the page, and we spoke about how loving your dog and respecting your dog are not the same thing, and I can bet that most people, if not all people, love their dogs. I don't have a doubt about it. No matter what approach they tend to use with their dogs. It could be aversives, it could be punishments, it could be yelling, it could be control, abusive. I still do believe they all love their dogs. What I wonder about them, but also a lot of others who use positive methods, force free methods, is whether they respect their dogs. And I think that was a great start to the week with the conversations around love and respect, because love and respect are definitely not um, like, it's not necessary that if you love someone you respect them. And respect, deep respect, comes from, for me, comes from seeing, acknowledging this other being around you. This is Laddu. This is the other dog, neighbor's dog. Um, the deep respect comes from recognizing and seeing this another individual capable of everything, and with their flaws and with their good and bad things in front of you, uh, and knowing that nobody is above or beneath us. I think that is where we started the conversations this week on Instagram. And that was a great conversation. I think many people did resonate with the idea of respect, and how we can see that in a lot of ways people have the relationship with their dogs is quite devoid of respect, and a lot of what we tend to do with our dogs comes from there, the lack of respect for the dogs. So yeah, we started from there, and then we went on to have a conversation about, and that was my favorite because it went crazy. um, so one of the things that the first things that I had to stop doing with my dogs, or I had to learn to let go with my dogs, is the idea of asking them to sit. Now, I know we tend to hang up on the idea of the sit command, or asking them to do sit as a trick training. Or when I say sit, then it's associated with other commands which are like trick training. But that is not what I am referring to. So sit with me here for a bit, okay? I mean, not intended, but yes. Um, when I brought Sammy home as a naive, young person who had zero idea about bringing up a dog, what it means to raise a dog, what it means to have a dog at home, what it means to be a caregiver. Um, and I had no people around me who had dogs, who were currently dog parents. Um, and so I did not have any idea um, of what it means, uh, like how to be a dog parent. And so one of the first things, no matter what, I remember, I think we threw this book away because I did not even want to donate it. There was a book on dog training, and I think, like, we had bought a book like that. We had asked the vets, the breeder, again, disclaimer, not endorsing for breeder puppies. Just telling you what we ended up doing, and ended up the journey that we were on. And everybody had the same idea. You have to teach your dog to sit, you have to train them. Potty training is where it starts. This is a very, very young puppy, 2-month old puppy, and it's, of course, potty training is a whole other conversation, but nobody is going to be talking about potty training a young infant. So why are we expecting the training of such a young puppy? And all conversations are around training. And of course, after 3 months of their This is the amazing background noise. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's very distracting. Okay, so yeah, so we were asked to train the dog after the vaccinations so that we could take him outside and then do the training. And when it comes to training, the first thing that any trainer would teach the dog is to sit. And 5 years went by. We used to sit generously in many occasions. Many times it didn't make any difference if we said sit or not, he would still jump. And Sammy was a golden retriever. So when he would get hyper and excited, he would jump, large dog. It was not as convenient, of course, but yes, we use sit in all forms of situations. Uh, in elevators, when someone came to pet him, when he had to meet another dog, we used it. When we had to give him food, when we had to ask him to wait, we used it generously. 5 years went by. Zoe came, did the same thing with her in the initial period, and she would respond. I recently found a video of where she, as a young puppy, was being told to sit with food in hand, and she did it. And then we progressed to other training because important to have a dog, and she refused. She drew her boundaries. Um, then we approached more trainers and got more advice, crate training, etc., etc., etc. And then finally, I landed up with Sindoor, and then my journey on this approach and this path started from there. And I think one of the things that we spoke about in that session was the possibility of um, discomfort, pain and discomfort for Sammy, and how asking him to repeatedly sit could be aggravating that discomfort. Like how even if one of us are in pain and we repeatedly uh, uh, overuse certain parts of our body while in discomfort, it can aggravate or slow down the process of recovery. So that happened, and we started making the lifestyle changes. So lifestyle changes are was not the big thing. Why do I say sit was one of the biggest things is because it's a philosophical change. It comes from it's not as simple as not asking your dog to sit. Because and as is evidenced by the comments on that video, and that's why I think that was a great conversation to have. um, because in the video, if you see, I am telling people uh, to give up something to deepen their bond with their dogs. And what I'm asking them to do is to stop asking their dogs to sit. So what does sit or stopping your dog to sit have has has to do with your relationship with your dog? And that is where a lot of the comments and a lot of the conversation around sit is where I want to be focused on. So it's not about not asking your dog to sit. Sit could be replaced with XYZ, and it could be the same conversation we are having right now. But the idea is, um, if your dog is jumping on somebody and you tell them to sit, and they sit, and you give them their reward, rightly so, because they've earned it. What are we saying about this entire situation? We are saying that there are certain behaviors that are good, acceptable. There are certain behaviors that are bad, unacceptable. Um, and you do what I tell you to do, and you earn your reward for it. Sounds like, sounds okay, right? Like all of us have been on the receiving end of it. Our jobs, maybe our caregivers, maybe our partners, we've all been in such situations. So many of us don't even feel like there's anything wrong in it, but uh, it's worth then thinking about whether this is a transactional relationship, that you behave a certain way that is comfortable and acceptable to me, um, and you earn your reward for doing so. And most dogs do it. Most dogs do it. I'm not even questioning whether the dogs want to, don't want to. They do it. Um, but is it fair to ask? Um, if your dog is jumping, if you're not fixing the external, if you're not looking at what's happening outside, if you're not looking at what are the different factors externally, because your dog is not jumping 24/7. Something is happening internally and externally, and or a combination of both, that is causing them to jump. And if we're not understanding what is that something internally and externally that is causing them to jump, then what we're trying to do is just fix the individual. Fix the individual is the problem. Individual has the problem. Uh, Not that what is happening around them is a problem. I don't want to get into the systemic social issues, but it is worth thinking about why Sammy would jump when we would come home and as a way to greet us, which he stopped doing, not because we were using sit as a command. He stopped doing, but there was a different reason for it. So I think why not asking your dog to sit is a challenge is because it challenges a few ideas and philosophies and thoughts that we end up having about our relationship with dogs, and dogs, just dogs as well as individuals. So first and foremost, if you are using sit as a way to get a well behaved dog, then how much are you addressing what's happening outside of the dog that is causing them to engage in behaviors that you deem undesirable? That's the other bit of it. A lot of us do a lot of us of course end up in situations. I'm not I'm trying to retrace my thought process. Yeah. So I have met a lot of people, clients, who have been okay with their dogs barking. So can I blanket say barking is an undesirable behavior? I have had clients who have been okay with their dog jumping. So is it a blanket undesirable behavior? So desirable or undesirable also boils down to the individual who is perceiving this behavior in a certain way. Is this okay or is this not okay? Is this okay for whom? Is this not okay for whom? I have had to restrict Zoe during our walks um, from going towards garbage dumps, or actually our garbage bins, because a lot of the neighbors do keep the bins on the ground and she has access to it. And I've had to restrict her, uh, partly because I don't want her to get into garbage dumps. The other is because she can have an upset tummy the next day, depending on what she eats. Um, Desirable or undesirable for whom? I know people who, I mean, I have many times allowed her to pick things off the road and not done anything about it. Garbage dumps, a little, that's where I probably draw the line. But it's subjective. Desirable and undesirable behavior is subjective. Yes, if you talk about safety, we all need our dogs to be safe and coexist safely um, with everyone around them. Absolutely. That's a no brainer. That is a goal all of us have. Uh, but somehow we believe that that safety is only achieved through training. Um, I am researching on this and I do want to do a little more deep dive on it before I'm able to have a larger conversation. But there is enough research to show that humans and dogs have coexisted for thousands of years. So, why do we believe that training is the only way that you can coexist when we have been coexisting and co evolving for generations together? So, um, the question becomes then is so the comments, the themes, let's say, that came up on that post was one was, of course, um, I didn't have to ask my dog to sit because they were very well behaved. I didn't have to train my dog because they were very well behaved. So, my question to you is what if they were not? Is training as a way to exist together justified when they are not behaving well? What does not behaving well mean? For whom is it not well behaved? Is it that your dog barking late in the night that's inconveniencing the neighbors, a bad behavior, and so your dog needs to be fixed? We If you have been or let me retell the story. We have three street dogs who kind of wandered and came here about maybe 1.5 years, almost 2 years back, and very slowly and steadily made their way into our home. So Laddu and Dedi are two dogs, streeties, who stay at home the entire day and go out in the night. Bala is the third one. He doesn't enter our house, but he does sleep on the front porch. Um, Now, three of them uh, are not our house dogs because they don't spend the day in the house. I mean, night in the house, and they're not here 24/7, and they prefer to go out when they wish to and come back when they wish to. So, they are what we tend to call indoor outdoor dogs, I hope. Um, so late in the night, a lot of times lady is on the street and she has a tendency to bark at a lot of these vehicles passing by or people passing by. um, and there are times when I am frustrated with it, the constant barking. But there is also a part of me that fears that if a person who adores her, loves her, um, shares the space with her, can be frustrated by her barking, there definitely can be a lot of people around who may not appreciate that barking, and maybe some are ready to go to an extent to harm her, to hurt her. So, in her case, if she's barking at 1 a.m., is it undesirable behavior? And undesirable behavior for whom? Who is that behavior hurting? Um, are important questions to ask, right? Before addressing the behavior itself. Then comes the question of why. Why is she barking? Mm, very recently I got to know that there has been like I mean, someone who used to take care of her when she was much younger passed by our house and then ended up recognizing her. And they told us that, she used to be part of their street, and then she was um, kind of bullied by her siblings, and then finally she left that street. So I wonder if there is some amount of self-preservation or cautiousness, or alertness that she comes with, where she suspects slash you know suspects, or what else can we say, wary of anybody. Even with us, it took a long time for her to start getting comfortable with our touch, with our presence, with us existing in the same space as her, like for example sitting on the same couch. It took a long time for her to be comfortable. So could it have been that she's just a very dog, who is quite cautious, quite um, pessimistic maybe about her interactions, and so anybody who passes by she barks at? So does that boil down to creating safety for her? Yes, as much as I can, though she's a street dog. But with our companion dogs, we can create safety for them, because their environment, their social interactions, their health, um, their agency, their body, all of this is um, at our disposal. You either control them uh, to positively impact your dog and their sense of safety, or control them negatively and impact negatively on your dog's sense of safety. We have control on a lot of these things. Um, so then we wondered whether we are able to uh, manage your dog's environment, and a lot of us don't do it. Um, Altering external factors, altering, let's say, for example, your dog's walk timings. Many people uh, have are resistant towards the idea of just changing the timing of your dog's walk, probably because it comes in the way of their routine, probably because they just cannot, probably because the dog does not want to change the timing. The dog insists on going on a walk at that hour. For whatever reason, there is a lot of resistance to just change the timing of the walk, and something that can actually make a huge difference to the dog, and people are resistant to that idea. So if we are not doing small changes um, um, around the external factors that can affect your dog's behavior, then is it fair to just expect your dog to keep changing and change and conform to our ideas of what is desirable and undesirable, or what is um, okay or not okay, how to live in a human world, when we don't want to make any changes for them? I don't think any of us don't make any changes, but we make the changes that we think they need, and we think they want from us. Um, for example, I know a lot of, and we did this too. We did this too. We brought a lot of toys. We brought like some nice fancy beds. None of them lasted long enough, especially when Sammy was a puppy. Um, we make changes that we think they need in terms of training. We have like very comprehensive training sessions. We have trainers come home. We go to a trainer center. We have like meticulous training sessions. We make these changes. We do adopt these changes. So it's not that we're incapable of making changes, or that we are rigid to changes. It's just that we make the changes we think are comfortable for us and is what our dog needs. And I think that narrative should change a little bit. So, of course, one of the themes around that post was, I didn't have to train my dog because they were well behaved. Um, so this then justifies training for poorly behaved dogs. It's okay to train a growling dog. It's okay to train uh, a dog with separation anxiety. It's okay to train an unfriendly dog. That is okay because they are poorly behaved dogs, which I think again puts the onus or the responsibility uh, on fixing the dog that is not a good dog, a well behaved dog, an acceptable dog. Once again, we are coming to a conversation around um, the idea of fixing the dog. So that was one running theme in the comments, and you can see it. You can go to the post on my Instagram and see the comments that were around well-behaved dogs. There was one comment. What a beautiful comment that was. I do want to, I think I'm going to paraphrase it. It said something along the lines of. Um, I didn't have to train my dog. He, uh, they listened to my dog would listen to whatever I said, and it was like a conversation. It's like having a conversation with another person, another individual, and they would listen to me. That was one part of it, and I was like, okay, this is again going in the same direction. And then they followed up with, and even if they don't listen to what I'm saying, uh, it's okay that they stand their ground. And that, I think, kind of captures about that love and respect we spoke about a little earlier. Um, because your dog has the right to say no to you. You can ask your dog to sit, and they can say no, I'm not going to. Is that a training issue? Is that a fact that you have to up your training game? Use more high value rewards. Is that the meaning of their no, or is their no just their boundary or their opinion that they are not interested in what you're saying? They don't want to do what you're saying. Do they have the right to not do what you're saying? What does that lead to? If your dog does not listen to you, what are the consequences of it? I think I was watching um, this talk show kind of a thing, hosted by VR Yuva. I think his name is Nikhil Taneja. Yeah, his name is Nikhil Taneja, hosted by Nikhil Taneja, and I think the guest was Veer Das in that talk show. And he made an important point, and it hit me suddenly. So he was talking about, I think it was him. Yeah, it was him. He was talking about rebelling, saying no to your caregivers and parents. And he makes a disclaimer there, or a caveat, if it is safe to do so. How many of us have had safe homes? This was London. He was just hanging out here. Okay. They all are wanting to go out now. Yeah. So, how many of us have had a safe home, a safe space with our caregivers where we could actually say, no, no, I'm not listening to you. No, I'm not doing what you're saying. And similarly, how many of your dogs have a safe home? What happens when they say, no, I'm not listening to you? Do they have the right to say no? Uh, what does their saying no lead to and amount to when you are asking something of them? Is it a conversation that and negotiation, or is it you listen to me, and if you don't, then we have a training problem now. We have to again figure things out together, because you got to listen. I mean, I know I'm putting it harshly. I don't believe and I don't think any dog parent is doing that outright. But somewhere deep down, that's the idea for most. I don't think it's for everybody, but for many people, that is probably the idea. Um, so it's worth thinking, what happens if your dog doesn't listen to you? What if they're not well behaved? What is your approach then? Is training then justified? There were another series of comments on a different post, and then we moved on to having a, you know, whenever I say I don't train my dogs, um, there mm, there's a theme of um, there's a theme in the hate that we get, which is around the idea that it is irresponsible, um, it is irresponsible, it is what do you call that, unsafe, it's reckless, and we are making it unsafe for the dog and those around the dog. It's because of people like us that there are dogs who are sent out for behavior euthanasia, uh, because we have come to believe as a society, as like collectively, we all believe that the only way that you can exist safely, responsibly with a dog is through training. You don't train, you don't, you're not safe. You're being reckless, you're being irresponsible. Um, okay, that's one part of the argument. Where I'm saying no, there are other ways. There are ways to coexist with a dog without conventional training. So then there's another set of conversations around uh, yes, sit, stay, trick training, stuff like that. Gimmicks and tricks are not useful. We don't do that. But let's say recall training, outdoor communication, boundaries where you are saying no to the dog. Those are all absolutely necessary, and that training, you may be saying that that is something else. I'm saying that is training. It's the same thing. We're all on the same idea of what we want to achieve with the dog. Absolutely. Our goals are the same. When I am outside, I want to have uh, established connection and communication with my dogs, and not have a failure of communication with my dogs when we are outdoors, because we could at some times end up in a situation that may be unsafe, and so I want us to remain talking and listening to each other while we navigate that situation. Correct. But how do you think we arrived at it? How do you think we arrived at a space where I talk to Zoe, she listens to me, then she says something, I listen to her? How did we arrive at that point? The process of arriving at that point is where I think I say we don't use training, because we don't use training. We don't repeatedly call Zoe and then reward her for listening to us. Or I don't keep getting her attention and rewarding her for it. So it's worth then thinking about the process of how we're getting to the goal that we want to achieve. I want to achieve safety as much as you want to achieve safety. I want my dog to be safe for herself and for those around her as much as you want it. But what's the process of achieving it? It's worth thinking about it. There are, of course, debates around crates. Anybody who's been around my page knows I don't endorse crates. Um, Partly because I did use it for Zoe for like a few minutes, post which she just took the house down and said, "This, nah, you give me food here, I don't care. You come and sit next to me, I don't care. I am not sitting here." And it was just gut wrenching to hear her whine, even for that 5 minutes. And I was like, no, this is not okay. She's not comfortable here. We have to figure something else out. When you're put in a position of we have to figure something else out because your dog stands their ground and you're like, yes, you stand your ground, I'm okay with it, but we have to figure something out. You will see the other ways of existing that comes out of it. Interestingly, um, we've had problem with counter surfing with Sammy. Uh, and we have a very very smart dog in Zoe who knows how to open child locks, she knows how to open cabinets, she knows how to open refrigerator, everything. So between a counter surfing dog who's big dog who can reach the counters and a smart dog, we were kind of at our wits end as to how to keep the space safe, keep them in open areas, uh, while not putting them in a space where they end up getting things that they should not be eating, and leading to situations where we have to clean up a lot of mess. We have been in that situation. Didn't use scripts, didn't use training, because um, a lot of the times that we had to leave them and go, nobody was there. So who's going to tell them not to do this? That has to come as an internal motivator. Now that internal motivator was never there for Sammy and Zoe when it came to food. So I had to have an external motivator. Absolutely. But that external motivator was not training. It was just rigid boundary setting, just not crates. So it is possible to find management tools, approaches where you build strong communication. And I'll tell you something, communication lines fail. Your training fails as much as our communication lines fail too. When a dog is wired up to a point where they can't process what's happening in their environment, training fails. So does communication. It happens. And your training is one form of the way you communicate with your dog. Not the only form, but it fails. Training fails, always fail, uh, because it's used in a situation where it's not conducive for the dog to listen, to have that conversation with us. So then we have to wonder whether we have to put that dog in that environment, if that environment is avoidable, unavoidable, how to introduce that dog to that environment. Is it necessary to introduce that dog to that environment? So many things to consider as a caregiver, as a parent, than just thinking about training. And as I said, training fails as much as communication fails. Communication fails between human adults as well. Two humans communicating with each other fail to communicate in many situations. With dogs too. That doesn't mean we are not learning, that doesn't mean we are not growing. So it's worth thinking about, so why did I ask or challenge the idea of sit? It's not the command sit, it's about how you're using, when you're using, why are you using, is there even a need to use it? Are you using because your dog is not a well behaved dog? What is a well behaved dog? Are you not using because your dog doesn't listen to you? Are you not using because your dog listens to you? What if they don't listen to you? Then what? What's your approach to then getting them to listen to you? Is it necessary for them to listen to you? Do you listen to them? These are all the questions, the larger questions, the more deeper questions um, that come up when you stop or when you pause before you ask your dog to sit. And that's why I say that sit was one of the first things that we did more philosophically to adopt this approach than logistically, practically, day to day stuff. Um, and we then had to work on helping Sammy unlearn it. In his case, we started it more from a point of view of discomfort for him. But then it led to, okay, if I'm not using sit and he's jumping, how do I address this? If I'm not asking my dog to sit, but I'm at an elevator, how am I approaching this? If I'm not asking my dog to sit, but we're approaching another person, how do I approach this? You ask bigger questions then. You ask more important questions then. Is it necessary for your dog to sit? Are there alternatives? Does your dog have the ability to navigate that situation without you asking them to do anything? Do you really need to ask them to do anything at all? Are they capable of making some of these decisions by themselves? Do they know how to navigate an elevator space? Do they know how to greet people? Or you have to teach them? Or do they need an environment that is conducive for them to be able to learn new ways, skills that they already have but were unable to nurture and practice? Do they need a different environment to be able to practice these skills? We have a new street dog on the street, and all the dogs are a little agitated, on the edge. So these are the questions that come up when we talk about sit, and that is what I kind of wanted us to think about when we say not to ask your dog to sit. And I genuinely am appreciative of the fact that there were so many people who came out and said, I've never asked my dog to sit. I have never needed to ask my dog to sit. I have never needed to train my dogs. Amazing. But ask these questions to yourself, whether you didn't train your dogs because to you they were well behaved. You didn't train your dogs. That's one part of it. There's another set of people who just believe this is the life with a dog. Now, in lady's example that I gave, where she was barking, she barks because she's uncomfortable. She barks because she's cautious. She barks because there are people at like 2 a.m. wandering around our street. Which, if it was me, I would feel unsafe too. She barks for all of these reasons, and do I or do I not address it? Should I or should I not address it? It's important to think about these things. I mean, it's one thing to say I won't like, it's okay to have a behavior, and it is okay for our dogs to exhibit a behavior because it tells us about our dog's internal and external state. But some situations need us to intervene and take care of what's happening around them so that they can feel better. So you don't have to train your dog, but it doesn't mean you don't have to be involved in your dog's, in raising your dog, in addressing your dog's concerns. This is not so much as a, this behavior is not a concern to me. It's something that's concerning your dog. Your dog is upset about something. Your dog is afraid of something. Your dog is um, agitated about something, and you have to step up and stand up for them. Um, and that doesn't mean you have to train. So there is another space, there is another way to go about this, and that's what I wanted to like talk about. um, so yes, we spoke quite a bit about um, the ideas around it. um, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment if you're watching later, share it with your friends, other dog parents, and we will have a lot more such conversations here. Um, I hope that next time I can give a little more heads up before doing this live so that you're aware and able to attend it if you want to. Um, and we can then hang out. And I hope I can fix this whole chat thing here. It was working yesterday, not working today. So, technical problems. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great weekend.